In this video, we're going to do an entire scientific analysis on the benefits of high-carb diets as it pertains to your metabolism. What is metabolic priming by the way of carbohydrate metabolism? How do you transition your body into a carbohydrate metabolism state? How do you prime your metabolism to eat more food and lose more weight? How is this possible? Why are high-carb diets now coming back after the industry has pushed low-carb dieting for as long as they have? All of this is going to be answered in this video, and so if you've been in low-carb keto position for a while now, make sure to listen along because I'm actually going to help you transition your body out into actually burning more fat and eating more food. And I'm going to actually use a case study from an ER doctor that we actually work in within our program. 53-year-old ER doctor, down 21 pounds, eating the same amount of calories per day in this video. And I'm going to actually walk you through step by step how we did it, from how he transitioned his body, how he found his current calories and macronutrients, how we primed his metabolism, and I'm going to cover as well a lot of the concerns that I already know that you have about high-carb diets, insulin sensitivity, blood sugar regulation, and I'm going to spill all the science and all the data about the new high-carb dieting wave that is currently hitting the industry as we speak. So, if you guys don't know me by now, my name is Adam Bunnell. I'm an online metabolic specialist. And I specialize in the manipulation of cellular metabolism through nutritional factors. I've worked with almost 400 plus men in 7 different countries just in the last 6 months alone, getting them to next level shredded physiques using a predictable mechanism of understanding the metabolism, how nutrition actually plays a role in hormones that align with your metabolism, and structuring plans for our clients that make fat loss predictable. So let's get right into today's video because I got a lot of really great things that I want to cover with you. John's wife actually messaged me this morning as I was making this, and I want you guys to understand the impact that we are having within the program that we do run. We work with almost 175 guys in our current program right now. Majority men, yes, some women, but these men come to us and our whole goal is not only to get them to next level physiques, but also change their life, change the ones around them. And this is the importance of the program that we run and the importance of when you take your health seriously and when you really, really go after your fitness goals, your body composition goals, your confidence goals. And so, really special moment for us as a program and me getting that message. I don't know if Jennifer's going to watch this later, but thank you for sending me that, Jennifer. That means the world to me. But anyways, let's start off, okay? So this is where John came to us. And the first thing we can analyze when we look at him is we have a high amount of visceral fat and a high amount of subcutaneous fat. So what we'd have to do, first of all, is understand there is a lot of correlation to inflammation going on. John's an ER doctor, so he's got a lot of correlated stress that comes with his life, by the way. So we knew that. So we have to put a mechanism in place of actually reducing this inflammation. That's first of all. If we don't reduce the inflammation and cortisol on someone's body, your body will quite literally fight the fat loss, right? Because you got to think about cortisol and inflammation as a very highly cellular active mechanism, right? It's very cellular active. It takes a lot of energy. Inflammation just takes a lot of energy that could be allocated towards fat loss. So we have to align the body metabolically, but also from an energy balance perspective. And that's the first thing we have to do. And how we do this is, first of all, we do a caloric intake and maintenance assessment. We have to find out what the current calories lie, right? Because a lot of people come to me and they're like, how do you know where your guys' metabolisms are without doing a blood panel? Well, it's because we can track where your actual metabolism is based upon where your caloric intake actually lies. Most guys who come to us are pretty low in calories because they've been trying to lose some weight for some time now, but they've been caught in the low-carb dieting, low-calorie lifestyle, and they've downregulated metabolism without fixing the actual inflammation and cortisol block first. So we have to fix that. We have to fix the cortisol inflammation block, and using carbohydrate metabolism, we can do that, and I'm going to show you how. But the first thing we have to do is find out where his actual metabolism lies, and how we do that is find out where his calories lie. So how it works is calories affect your weight and macronutrients affect how you look. So tracking calories focuses on total energy intake for weight management, while macro tracking, protein, carbs, and fats, provides more insight into body composition, nutrient balance for achieving specific fitness goals, like building muscle or maintaining energy levels. For overall weight loss, a calorie deficit is key, But macro tracking can lead to a more balanced and satisfying diet, helping you stay fuller and build muscle more effectively. So it's like we wanted to match the current calories where they already are at, because where his current calories are at is where his metabolism lies, right? Where the weight management lies. But within that, we wanted to put protein, carbs, and fats that actually matched the calories, right? So the actual relationship to your metabolism and weight is your metabolism, or your basal metabolic rate, determines the calorie your body needs to rest, okay? So where you're at right now, currently, at your current weight, at your current caloric intake, is where your BMR currently is. How many calories are you eating per day? That is where we start calories at. So whether you track calories or macros, maintaining consistent caloric intake is essential for managing weight, as you must consume fewer calories. So we have to optimize first. We have to optimize cortisol. We have to optimize inflammation. So for metabolic health, macro tracking helps support a healthy metabolism by providing the necessary fuel for muscle building and the hormone function, which are crucial for overall metabolic processes. So if we just simply keep the exact same calories and we actually optimize the macronutrients, we can have better hormone fluctuation, which leads to reduction of cortisol, weight management, and we start to lose weight eating the same amount of calories. And you can even see just within the first 2 weeks, this is exactly what we did, right? We started him off at 2,100 calories, and we actually raised the carbohydrates, which we're going to get here in a second when we transition his body into carbohydrate metabolism. But look within just the first few weeks when we switched his body into tracking calories, into tracking macros. Not only did he lose, 10 pounds right off the bat, but he also gained body composition. His muscles got fuller, but we reduced the cortisol. We reduced the inflammation, eating the same amount of macros. So step 2, now we transition the body into a carbohydrate metabolism state. So how we start our guys out in calories really quickly is that we started John out at 2,100 calories and dialed in specific macros specific to age, weight, body composition, and activity level. So we take what he does for a living, how active he is, how many steps he does per day, how old he is, his current weight, all these, and we actually, that's how we find out his current macronutrients. So step 2, we transition the body into a carbohydrate metabolism state. Lower the fat intake, this is important. Lower the fat intake and raise the carb intake to make the body utilize carbohydrates and regulate insulin. So I told you that we're going to talk a lot about the current questions and concerns you have. And one thing that always comes up with this is like, what about insulin? Insulin. Insulin isn't a bad hormone. It's a key that actually shuttles, fuel and energy to the correct places, okay? So let's I want to cover carbohydrate metabolism, but the main issue when it does come to insulin is the high fat and high carb diets, right? Because if insulin is high, the body is more sugar burning. So if we have high insulin, our body's going to burn carbohydrates more. That's like the popular known sugar diet that's going crazy on the internet right now. This is why. It's because there's a lack of fats in place within the sugar diet, but very high amounts of carbs. So yes, insulin's high, but the body's very carb burning, right? So the factors that influence insulin and fat burning, consuming a large amount of carbohydrates leads to higher insulin release and signals the body to store fat rather than burn it. But when we have a high carb diet and we're optimizing the body for a lower fat, then the body's going to transition and want to burn more carbohydrates. So pairing this with exercise can improve insulin sensitivity, allowing the body to use insulin more effectively and potentially increase fat burning. So what's going on? Everyone says insulin's such a bad thing. Why is, exercise and higher carb diets have a potential of actually increasing fat burning? Because the fats are low and the protein's high. That is the only way this can work. Because if we have a high fat and a high carb diet, it can lead to something what's called metabolic gridlock, which I'm going to cover here in a second. Losing excess body fat can resolve insulin resistance, making your body more efficient at using insulin and leading to better fat utilization. So not only are we utilizing for a higher carb diet, right, that's going to have a higher insulin levels, but also is going to have a higher amount of actually burning carbohydrates. But as we start to lose weight, we start to resolve insulin resistance. We start to become more glucose efficient. And so when insulin resistance occurs, the body cells don't respond well to insulin, which can make it harder for the body to burn fat and contribute to weight gain. So we want to regulate insulin correctly. This is the biggest thing. We want to regulate insulin correctly. But the problem is that eating a high-fat and high-carb diet together can overstimulate the brain's reward system, potentially leading to increased cravings to overconsumption. Also can influence fat storage by promoting carbohydrate use while fat is actually stored. While many processed foods, obviously we know processed foods are bad, but what this is saying is when carbs and fats are high, it's still going to be optimizing for carbohydrates, but now fat on the back end is going to be stored. So the metabolic impact to this is that when you eat carbs and fats together, the body may preferentially use the carbohydrates for immediate energy and store the fat. Frequent spikes in insulin combining fats and carbs can lead to insulin resistance, a driving force in conditions like diabetes. And then we get into metabolic gridlock, the impaired ability of cells, particularly mitochondria, to flexibly switch between fuel sources. So the body doesn't know what to optimize for and to be flexible when switching between fats and carbs. It's called metabolic inflexibility. This is a cellular roadblock that prevents timely and appropriate nutrition processing, contribute to insulin resistance, the weight gain and cardiometabolic disease by causing cellular dysfunction and fueling an irrationate nutrient storm. Loss of metabolic flexibility. So you want to have more metabolic flexibility. And you want, so let's say, for instance, you're on a low-carb diet. Why are low-carb diets bad? Because you don't have metabolic flexibility. Your body's only utilizing fats. So that's its primary fuel source. So when you add carbohydrates back, boom, you got insulin resistance because you've downregulated the insulin receptors and you've downregulated the machinery that actually utilizes glucose. And that's when you become insulin resistant, and that's when you gain weight back really very, very rapidly. But you want to have more metabolic flexibility. So you want to have fats in place. Yes, I don't want to say we want to take fats all out of John's diet. I want to say we want to regulate the fats. We want to regulate the carbohydrates. We want to have a higher carb diet that is leading to higher insulin, but also higher fat burning within, burning carbohydrates. But we're going to have a lower fat diet so the body's not storing body fat. So there's a synergistic effect when that happens. Not only to fat burning because you're going to lose weight, become more glucose effective, but you're also going to build muscle tissue, going to have better energy overall because carbohydrates are a better energy source. You're going to lose more weight and you'll be able to eat more food because carbohydrates per gram are more voluminous than fats. And you're going to be overall more satiated because carbohydrates lead to better satiation when it comes to leptin levels. So mitochondrial dysfunction. The mitochondria become stiff, unable to adapt to their fuel sources. This is often due to effects and enzymes that control the flow of fuel in mitochondria. Nutrient processing, impaired nutrient processing. So the ability to appropriately handle glucose and fatty acids is compromised. This disruption contributes to a state of cellular congestion and road rage amongst the substrates, leading to metabolic imbalances. How it regulates insulin. It's basically the hallmark of insulin. Metabolic inflexibility is the hallmark and central component of insulin resistance. Aberrant nutrient distribution, and then consequences, cellular dysfunction, cardiometabolic disease, as we know. But anyways, so now that we know the problem, what is the solution? Why do we use higher carb diets with John? Why is he losing weight while eating more food as we go on? Because you can see right here, within his first, 8 weeks, we didn't do anything but raise food as he lost weight. Right? And let's think about the coaching decisions that our team had made right here. 25th, he checks in, 171, looking better than he did last week. What did we do? We actually raised the carbs. What happened next week? He actually weighed in lower. What did we do this week? Same thing, 25 more grams of carbohydrates. He got leaner. Next week, same thing. He starts to get abs again. And he's now up to 2,600 calories from 2,100 calories, and he's down from 175 to 167, eating more food. So how much more sustainable is this approach than caloric restriction? How much more sustainable is this approach than not being able to eat on the weekends with the wife because you can't eat carbs because you think carbs are bad? So carbohydrate metabolism is not only more sustainable, but it's also more effective, right? So carbohydrate metabolism involves the body's use of carbs for energy, preferentially burning them first before fat. When carb intake is low, or exercise depletes, glucose is stored. The body shifts to fat burning, a process enhanced by lower insulin levels. Metabolic inflexibility allows for efficient transition between burning carbs and fats, with higher intensity exercise favoring carbs and lower intensity favoring fat. So how do we utilize this approach when understanding higher intensity exercise favors carbs and lower intensity exercise favors fat? So what we'll do for John in this plan is we should add a strength training program that's based upon science, exercise science, and progressive overload. Our team of experts come in and we build him out an entire training program based upon how much time he has, what type of equipment he has, home gym, whatever it may be. But that's actually how we burn more carbs, because yes, like when you're at a glucose fasted state, your body does switch into burning fats, right? But how do we enter a glucose fasted state? You can enter a glucose fasted state by utilizing strength training, building muscle, building metabolic flexibility. And so we put strength training in that place so that he does have a mechanism of depleted glucose that allows him for fat burning. But we can also pair that with lower intensity non-energy activity thermogenesis like steps. So in his plan, he not only has a well-built program based upon our actual experts of exercise scientists that come in and make him an entire program, but he also has steps within his plan that we make him do per day, just like simple walking, because it's going to be a lower intensity exercise that favors fat burning. So the thing about your zones of cardio and your heart rate zones is that the higher your heart rate is, the more carbohydrates you burn. The lower the amount your heart rate is, the more body fat you burn. So we have to have both of those in place for the impact of overall fat loss, right? So carbohydrate metabolism impacts the body composition by providing energy. Excess glucose is stored in glycogen and converted into fat cells. So yes, we need to still control glucose. We can't just go crazy with carbohydrates and overeat on carbohydrates because it will get converted on fat. But we want to dial in how much carbohydrates his body's actually utilizing, so we're burning the correct amount. We're still getting into a glucose fasted state within the strength training plan so we can actually burn fat effectively, but we're also putting lower intensity exercises like steps per day that allow him to actually utilize fat. So diets that restrict carbohydrates can lead to increased fat oxidation, potential fat loss, but the total energy balance ultimately determined by changes in the body fat and body mass. The type of carbohydrate also influences insulin response and may affect the rate of fat loss and fat storage. So the types of actual carbs that we use doesn't really necessarily matter to a lot of our clients. And I get this question a lot, so I want to answer this. Is like people are like, what types of carbs are the best? What types of carbs are the best? It doesn't matter what type of carbs, it matters how many carbs per day. Now, we can get into like a little bit more depth about it, and if you want to like optimize it, like we could get into more higher glycemic carbohydrates that are going to be higher burning and, lead to better fat, burning overall, and better digestion, like white rice, cream of rice, fruit, rice cakes, all that good stuff. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. We don't give our clients meal plans. We teach them exactly what to eat, right? John was eating Chick-fil-A on the way to work, right? I remember him calling me vividly. We did a Zoom actually in his car, and he's like, "Hey, how do I track this? Chick-fil-A?" And we teach our clients that. We teach them how to track Chick-fil-A or anything on the go, because we work with high-level individuals. Like, we understand he can't bring a Tupperware to work every single day. It's not unrealistic. It's not sustainable either. We actually show our clients like what they can eat, what they can put in place, and we teach them the necessary tools and utensils that allow them to actually keep the progress. Because what's the point of a high-level individual like John hiring us and then him having to rely on us for the rest of his life? Like he can't be 80, with, an online metabolic specialist that constantly changes. Like, we want to teach our clients this stuff, right? And so he understands what to eat, how to eat. He understands what he can't eat. He understands if he, on the weekends, if he wants to go drink with the buddies or the work friends or go out to eat with the wife, he knows how to do that. But overall carbohydrates amount per day, that's all that matters. But how carbohydrates affect energy and body composition. Energy source, carbohydrates broken down to glucose. We know that. Energy stores, the body doesn't need glucose for immediate energy, can be stored as glycogen in the liver and muscles. If glycogen stores a fuel, excess glucose is converted into fat and stored in the adipose tissue. Like I said, we have to control the how much. Obviously, we control the how much for John until he learns how. But when carbohydrate intake is high, the body tends to rely more on glucose for energy. So we want a high carbohydrate diet, so we rely more on glucose. But conversely, a reduction in carbohydrate can lead to fat oxidation or fat for energy, but low carb diets. So anyways, what this is meaning to is that like this only to kind of wrap this up is the only really way this works is if we control the fats and we control the carbs. Lower carb diet, lower fat diet, higher carb diet, more fat burning, more fat oxidation. Best of both worlds. So as we go on, we can see how we get John, and like what we want to understand now is what have we been doing him up to this point, because he gets all the way up to 3,000 calories. 3,000 calories. And he is now still down 10 pounds. So he's not only up 900 calories per day, but he's down 10 pounds. So what did we do during this time? And this is where metabolic priming comes into place. So what is metabolic priming? The manipulation of cellular metabolism. So that is what I currently specialize in. That's what I've done years of research in. And that's what I've helped almost 400 men do successfully. And we are quite literally one of the top upcoming online programs for body composition, weight loss, and health benefits. So metabolic priming for fat loss is initial diet before the diet phase, where you gradually increase your caloric intake and focus on muscle building through resistance training to boost your metabolism, improve your body's ability to burn fat for energy. So what we're saying here is that when we start to have a strength training plan in place that is actually built by professionals, we're building muscle tissue. When we're building muscle tissue, we are becoming more glucose absorbent because muscle tissue absorbs glucose. We're also becoming more metabolically effective, right? The more muscle tissue you have, the better your metabolism works. So this prepares your body for a subsequent calorie deficit, allowing it to effectively set sustainable fat loss by ensuring a strong metabolic rate and preserving muscle mass. So you build a strong foundation. So I want you guys to picture in this mind. What do we do for John? We're building the foundation for fat loss. We're building the foundation for sustainable fat loss. We want to, first of all, build a strong foundation. We want to increase calories and protein. So you gradually increase your food intake, ensuring a high protein intake to support muscle growth and repair. Focus on resistance training, because this is a resistance training program. Maintain or build muscle mass, which is crucial for a high metabolism. And then you improve metabolic efficiency. This phase teaches your body to burn fuel efficiently, making it ready to availably use fat for energy when you eventually cut calories. So why is metabolic priming so effective? One, it's the most predictable way to lose body fat. Just keep that in mind. But boost metabolism means you burn more calories at rest and during activity. So what we're doing is we're teaching John's body to burn more calories before we go actively burn more calories. We are quite literally teaching his body to biologically burn more food at rest. And that's exactly what we did. We're preserving muscle mass, sustainable fat loss. This approach aims for long-term success by prioritizing metabolic health rather than just rapid weight loss on the scale. So let's talk about that. Rapid weight loss on the scale. What does that mean? That's just how low can I weigh in today? Well, if you're just aiming for a new low weigh-in every single day and you are losing muscle tissue, what are you doing? You're becoming less metabolically effective and metabolically efficient. It's not about losing muscle tissue. It's about losing body fat. We want more muscle tissue and less body fat for sustainability purposes, because if we have more muscle tissue, we can eat more food. We can stay more flexible. We have more metabolic efficiency when it comes to your mitochondria. And so we want to make sure that we become more flexible and we utilize the correct approach for sustainability. This is why keto diets and these rapid weight loss diets that you guys see on the internet that you guys jump on as soon as your friends tell you to do it because they lost 10 pounds last week never actually keeps it off. Because every time that you do it, you just lose the weight, you lose the muscle tissue, you eat more food, you gain it right back. There's a better way to do this, and I'm trying to teach each and every single one of you on my channel the exact way you can build more muscle tissue, lose more body fat, eat more food, become more healthy, have more sustainability and longevity, and have more energy overall. And this is the way to do it. So it basically, in essence, prepares you for a deficit. So let's talk about what you guys are probably wondering. What is metabolic priming predictable? Like, what is it? Like, is this just some new thing we're seeing on the internet? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Metabolic priming is a scientific research topic that has actual scientific basis behind it. It's metabolic priming is predictive of fat loss because it involves optimizing the body's hormone balance and metabolic efficiency before starting a diet to prevent negative effects of metabolic adaptation. So metabolic adaptation is the body's adaptation phase to a lower caloric diet. When you start to metabolically adapt, you start to your BMR starts to lower, all that good stuff. But by maintaining a higher calorie intake for a period of time, the body's metabolic rate and hormone signals like leptin and ghrelin are kept in a healthy state, which makes the subsequent calorie deficit more effective, more sustainable, and more sustainable for fat loss that helps prevent weight regain, right? So in 2024, our program got nominated 4th out of 400,000 different online programs on our app Trainerize for a reward for sustainability. We are 4th out of 400,000 different online programs in the reward section for sustainability purposes. And this is why, because this is the process that we use, metabolic priming. So how metabolic priming works: pre-diet stabilization, hormone balance, metabolic rate maintenance, adaptation prevention. And it is better for adherence, sustainable fat loss, reduced weight regain, which, let's think about this, guys. America doesn't have a fat loss problem, right? We don't have a fat loss problem. We have a keeping fat off problem. People are actually really damn good at losing weight, but they're terrible at keeping it off. They've done studies in the National Library of Medicine. 30% of people who lose 10 plus pounds keep it off. And then after 2 years, that number dwindles about 10. So 90% of people who are losing weight never keep it off. Why is that? It's because we don't put into context fast fad dieting on the internet that regains the weight back every single time, and actually nurturing your metabolism for the overall hormone imbalance, endocrinology, and biology. In essence, metabolic priming is a strategic approach to phase that optimize the body internal environment by making it more receptive and capable of achieving fat loss long-term through subsequent controlled diet. So yeah, it is sustainable. And this is John, 3,000 calories per day more. And then now what do? Now we actually start them in a fat loss phase, a body composition phase, we call it, where we really start to get them lean. But we do this in a strategic approach. So if we were to put this right here, let's go through what John looks like first of all when we kind of walk through this. Is that this is what it looks like. We do the exact same thing, but we lower the food and we maintain cortisol in inflammation levels, right? Because like I said, we need to be able to have a mechanism of maintaining hormone levels and maintaining cortisol and inflammation. So we lowered it a little bit. And honestly, we didn't change anything with John for almost an entire month. And he got leaner each and every single week. So how do we make sustainable fat loss? Is that we make changes when changes need to be made. When your body tells us that we need to make changes, that's when we make changes. And how do we know when to make changes? When we hit an actual fat loss stall. John never hit a fat loss stall. He never hit a body composition stall. He just slowly made great progress each and every single week. And that's what sustainability looks like. Do you think this is hard for John? Nah, this diet isn't hard for John. This is easy. This is a part of his life. This is a part of his routine. This is a habit because we make it a habit. We make it so goddamn easy to follow. It's like a GPS that you follow when your next turn is go right. So he just every week checks in, make sure he's checking up all good. Our clients check in every single week, once a week, to make sure their body composition is in check, their hormones are in check, inflammation, cortisol is in check. And as he goes through the week, we make adjustments based upon correlated, data-driven decisions that we see with our clients. So as we see, he didn't change anything. What happened again? We lowered 25 grams of carbs. We didn't change anything for another month. And then look what happens within this month. So he lost 3 pounds. Yeah. So if you were to see, John on the street and he was like, yeah, I lost 3 pounds this month, you're probably like, so who cares? But look at his body composition changes right here. Right? Just absolutely leaning out like hell. So it's not about weight. It's about how you look. Because none of you care about your weight. You give a shit about how you look, right? And then what we do on this day, 25 more. We added a little bit more cardio. So keep in mind, he's doing 20 minutes of cardio, 20 minutes in cardio for 25 minutes, 4 times a week. That takes him a little bit in the morning. But look how lean he's getting now. He's down to 156. And then this is where he checked in last week. Right? And then this actually we checked in this week. Right here. on this left photo right here. This is what we checked in this week. Eating 2,300 calories, to doing cardio 4 times a week at 20 minutes, right? Nice, easy, slow. 53 years old, shredded as ever, and that's what it looks like. That's what beautiful looks like, and it's because he had an actual approach that's not only predictable, but it's the actual roadmap to follow. And this is what it looks like, and this is why we use carbohydrates. This is why we transition the body, and this is why metabolic priming is the most and easiest way to get six-pack lean. So if you're somebody who has been struggling like John, you're a high-level individual that, wants everything laid out for you, and like you understand this pretty well, but you rather just have somebody just sit there and do it for you, there's going to be a link down below that you can sign up for a time. We work with 175 guys as of currently. We have a team of high-level coaches that are experts in endocrinology, experts in exercise science. We're experts in the fields of psychology, and we run a really damn good program, to be honest with you. Like, we're one of the top upcoming online programs for body composition effects within the overall fitness space as of right now. So, like I said, if you just want to stop by, looking at it, this is your your first time coming to the channel. What's going on? Hope to see you back. And like, you can more than happy go through all of my videos. You're gonna learn a lot, right? And I guarantee you'll make progress. But I do keep 90% of what I teach outside of my YouTube channel and inside of my program. We teach our clients sustainable habits, sustainable approaches, mindset, and we run a really dang good program with a lot of dang good guys in it. So 90% of what I do on this channel, I keep off just for the purpose of my clients. So keep that in mind, just, being transparent. But, if you want to make great progress, you want just nice direction, want to learn some more, go through my channel. I promise you'll make progress. But anyways, like I said, like, comment, subscribe. See you guys next time.